This is a review and install of Costco's Artika Austin model LED fan, ceiling fan. I've bought a few of these. I have 4 sitting here that I'm about to install in this one location. I've installed 2 of these recently, and I have really enjoyed the output. Great product, and so let's discuss. All right, let's get into it. The unit is packaged nicely. Looks like scratch resistant plastic around the sides when you're installing it, so you don't mess it up. And then you can pull that off once it's hanging. Let's see what other pieces we have. Plastic, the cover harness, the brackets, the hanging brackets, and let's see, we got the remote control, which we'll go through, and then we have the bracket that is off the box. All right, so laid out, got the hanging bracket, the cover, the bracket for the actual unit that goes inside of this. You won't see any of this, of course. Operating instructions and some of the hardware, and then of course the remote control. All right, so for this project, this is the ceiling fan that we're replacing with the new Costco fan. I'm not going to go through a removal of the fan. That's pretty standard removal. I'll get into more of the project once we have this off the ceiling and we start to install the new fan. All right, so the directions are pretty straightforward. You run through them. Putting a couple of these together, you just want to make sure that you do this in order before you go and try to install this piece, the rod screw into the unit itself. I'll show you what I mean. All right, so these are the wires that are coming out, all the hot wire, ground. You'll see they also created this little harness piece for additional safety. You can use this or not. I will tell you that this unit is not very heavy. It's certainly not as heavy as the old-fashioned ones with the heavy lights and the glass covers for the lights, and just most of those just really big and bulky. So whether you use this or not, totally up to you. It's an extra security feature, but for the install purposes, these wires need to go through the inner piece here and come up and out of the other side. So once you get the wires through the extension bar, you're going to see here that there is a rod that goes through, a pin that goes through, and 2 screws. You're going to remove this rod and the screws, back them out all the way, and then screw this into the actual unit itself. Once you do that, you'll put this rod back through again to hold the bar in place, and these screws will tighten it so that it doesn't move back or forward. All right, so as you screw this in, it'll get tighter. These have been painted for the manufacturer, so it may feel like it's extremely tight at the end of this, but you're just basically trying to line it up where you can get the pin through. So you'll know when you've tightened it up enough. It's going to feel very loose until you get the 2 small screws on both sides that actually tighten this up, and then this won't move anymore. I mentioned there's the ground wire. This screw holds this in place. It doesn't go anywhere. It's nice and tight now, and you'll see this covers it all up when the wires are in. Okay, so the fan now is hanging in its bracket as we installed that earlier. You'll see I went ahead and attached the safety latch, hook I guess they call it. And of course from here on out, it's a standard wiring process. You have your hot wire and your ground. So we're going to go ahead and install this. Once you install the wires, of course the power being off, and you put the nuts on and do all the connections, they'll tuck up into here, plenty of space to tuck them. This will cover. Now, you'll see in this, you'll see a notch for one of the bolts to slide in and hook, but the other one is a closed hole. One of these bolts has to come out. So once you get that bolt out, one of the bolts out, you'll click this in place and then put the other bolt in. Finding that hole can be a little bit of a fun job, but once you find the hole, this goes flush into the ceiling. This piece, this bracket here, has notches on it. Same concept. It hooks into this, pops it in place, hides the screws, and then we're ready to turn it on. Turn the power back on and test the unit out. But that's it for the install. All right, let's continue. All right, so the install is complete. You see with the settings of the hiding the brackets and all the bolts, very clean install. Last thing to do is to pull the plastic off of here, and then we'll go into showing you the functions of the remote and the operation of the unit. All right, looking at the remote control, you have low, medium, high, fan on, off. You have for cooling and heating, whether or not you're pushing air or drawing air up, spreading the heat around from the heat going up the ceiling. Dimmer switch on and off. And let's take a look here what we got. So bright light, LED. You can see it gets pretty bright, but complete dimming allows. You have a hue for cooler. This one's a little hard to see, but you'll, I think if we were in the evening hours, you would see that has a nice look to it in a dark room. That warmer glow versus the brightness. All right, so fan on, and we are going to test the heat idea, or the heat function that allows for air to be drawn upward and spread. You don't have a direct air coming down, it's actually going up. If we stop it and reverse to the cool, and I'll show you the functionality of the speeds. So, all right, we're going to normal fan option. Ooh, it's blowing already. But here's the impressive part. If I go at the highest level, the fan's not moving. It's very steady. For not a very heavy fan to install. It's very steady, lightweight, but just as smooth. So, turn the light off, have the fan going. I'm a fan of having this in the winter time on it low all the time and moving that heat around. I'm a big fan in the winter just having it on the heat function, moving air around lightly and keeping it off the ceiling and down where we actually feel it. So that's a great function of this fan. Highly recommend this fan.